I was just a man trying to keep my grandson out of trouble. His name is Jeremiah. He's 14. He loves basketball and hates broccoli. And on a Tuesday afternoon in September, a police officer named Diane Moss dragged him out of a convenience store, threw him against her squad car, and told him he matched the description of someone who'd stolen a wallet. She didn't ask for his name. She didn't check the security cameras. She just looked at him, a black boy in a hoodie, and decided he was guilty. I got to the station an hour later. Jeremiah was sitting in a plastic chair, his hands cuffed in front of him, tears dried on his face. Officer Moss stood over him with her arms crossed. She looked at me and said, "You need to teach your boy some respect." I said, "Where's the wallet?" She said, "We'll find it." I said, "You didn't find anything because he didn't take anything." She just smirked and walked away. The charges stuck. They said Jeremiah resisted arrest. They said he was combative. The store owner, a man who knew Jeremiah by name, told them the boy was innocent. They didn't care. They wanted someone to blame, and he was standing right there. We went to court 3 weeks later. Judge Harrison was on the bench. White hair, gold glasses. She looked at Jeremiah like he was already guilty. Officer Moss took the stand and told her version. The version where my grandson was a threat, where she was just doing her job, where she was the hero. Judge Harrison nodded along. She didn't ask a single question. Then it was my turn. I stood up and said, "Your Honor, this is wrong. That boy has never been in trouble a day in his life." Judge Harrison cut me off. She said, "Sir, sit down. The officer's testimony is clear." I tried to keep going. She slammed her gavel. She said, "One more word, and I'll hold you in contempt." The courtroom got quiet. Officer Moss smiled at me from across the room. I sat down, but I didn't close my mouth. I looked at Judge Harrison and I said, "Your Honor, before you decide, I need you to know something." She sighed and said, "What is it?" I reached into my jacket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. I walked up to the bench and placed it in front of her. She looked at it. Her face changed. She looked at me. Then she looked at Officer Moss. Then she looked at me again. She said, "This says you were sworn in this morning." I said, "Yes, Your Honor." "At 7 o'clock." She said, "As sheriff." I said, "Yes, Your Honor." The courtroom went so quiet you could hear the clock on the wall. Officer Moss stopped smiling. I turned to her and said, "And effective immediately, Officer Moss, you're suspended pending a full investigation into false arrest and racial profiling." Judge Harrison dismissed the charges before the sun moved an inch across the floor. Jeremiah walked out of that courthouse with his head held high. And the woman who tried to break him, she spent the rest of the day cleaning out her locker, wondering how a grandfather in a worn coat became the man who held her future in his hands.